Good morning, if it can even be considered morning. It is always so dark around here, so sorrowful and miserable. Anyway, the expedition into the Warrens last night was a success. As expected, really. It was only a short venture to test Pyr'Klai. Although a seasoned bounty hunter out in the world, that means nothing here. Nothing against those horrors around my estate. Pyr'Klai is worried about Glade, his apprentice bounty hunter. I believe we should discuss this matter further in my office this afternoon. Signed, Quaz. Good afternoon. Sorry about the mess. Tidying up is the last thing on my mind these days. I used to keep a rather clean office before arriving here. I used to do a lot more. Anyway, we are here to discuss Pyr'Klai. He has found out that Glade will be taking part against the inchoate flesh during week 37. Pyr'Klai wishes to partake, as he is worried about his apprentice. However, I do not believe him ready to fight such a monster yet. Of course, he was offended by this. He said, and I quote, "How can a veteran bounty hunter such as myself not be ready? Yet that milk-drinking boy Glade is ready?" I told him, Glade has proven himself here at the estate, and he is probably not the boy you once remember. And I could not stress this enough to the foolish man. Actions out in the wide world mean nothing here at the ShadowStain estate. Everyone who arrives on that stagecoach must prove themselves first before being given such a dangerous task. Not that I care if they die, plenty more fools will arrive, but I do care about the time and money invested into their weapons, armor, trinkets and training. If they die with those precious items on their body, I can potentially lose weeks of progress. I tried to tell Pyr'Klai this. He seemed to somewhat understand. So he finally agrees to going into the Warrens for this relatively simple task. I now wish to tell you of this venture into the Warrens. It was quite the success. The team for this task consisted of Raider the Flagellant, Pyr'Klai the Bounty Hunter, Splendor the Jester, and Chartres the Occultist. All four had already been on small benches. However, I still thought none of them were truly ready for a greater task yet. I was mainly focused on Pyr'Klai. If he proved himself during this exploration of the Warrens, I would allow him to join in the fight against the inchoate flesh. The Warrens are known for disease and blight, thanks to the filthy beastmen that live there. However, I did not allow this group to take anti-venom. I really wanted them to prove themselves to me, and so a little amount of supplies were granted. A bandage for the frightening healing of the occultist. How can someone allow themselves to be healed by such horrors is beyond me. The first fight proved easy enough, according to the reports given to me. The team had a high amount of bleed and direct damage against the beastmen and monsters of the Warrens. Although that cursed occultist bleeds his own men. Such vile healing magic. I'm sure the Flagellant didn't mind. Such a strange man. Complaints about the blight were many, yet why complain? They were clearly stronger, and money was saved for more important expeditions in the future. The stress of the expedition, my main worry each time a team goes out on an exploration, was not much of an issue this time, thanks to the music of Splendor. Although not an experienced jester, and a musician of awful taste from when I can hear it at the hamlet, he clearly knows how to soothe the minds of his allies during these dreaded journeys of despair. The magic of the occultist frightens me. It reminds me of the failure of my ancestor, playing with magics not intended for us. Chartres claims it helps. Yet what if he loses control, and more nightmarish horrors are released upon us, possibly overrunning the hamlet? Although I consider him a fool, Pyr'Klai seemed the least unhinged of the group. Splendor cackles like a witch and cracks the most awful jokes, all the while playing that terrible music. How does that soothe the minds of anyone is beyond me. Chartres disgusts me with that vile magic, and I stay well away from any flagellant. Such insane people. Pyr'Klai's weapon of choice interested me. It wasn't the usual trusty axe of a bounty hunter, rather a strange wheel. It looked comical to me, yet according to the reports, it was a deadly lethal weapon down in the Warrens. As much as it pains me to admit, Chartres really does know how to use that healing magic of his to great effect, yet it is so inconsistent. I much prefer the honest healing of the Vestals. A few years ago, I was terribly ill. and was brought back from the edge of the abyss thanks to the clean healing of a local Vestal. I will never allow an occultist to use his eldritch horror magic on me. This is why these fools need to be tested. I give them a skeleton key to open chests found in that dreaded place, only for that fool raider to jump towards the chest and open it like the brute he is. Of course, it was a trap. I am sure the fool knew. Anything for the chance to bleed. Such a repulsive man. Some of those beasts spat such vile disease towards the group. Then they come back to the hamlet and spread it around. I absolutely hate having to interact with these so-called heroes at times. They are riddled with disease. It amazes me how they can even walk, let alone fight when consumed by such foul disease. The sanctum is always filled with patients, which is sadly not many at a time. I need to push these heroes. I need to upgrade these buildings of the hamlet. We cannot be living in such squalor. Complaints were made about the bleeding too. Not enough bandages, according to Pyr'Klai. I told him, "Are you sure you are ready for a much more dangerous task, if you cannot even withstand a few deep cuts?" That made him quiet. I think he is starting to understand just how much more dangerous some areas can become, and that those areas will need the greater amount of supplies. So for now, he must learn to survive on a bare minimum during these easier ventures. I noticed that there was a small change in Pyr'Klai, however, an understanding. That understanding gives me confidence that he might just be ready for a much more dangerous task with his fellow bounty hunter Glade. Success came quickly in the Warrens. They cleared the area fast and with little stress and pain. I was, however, extremely disappointed in the haul of loot they had gathered, and reports told me a room was ignored in hallways too. Although very pleased in their combat abilities, they must learn more about gathering items for the hamlet. It is important for the progress and future safety of the ShadowStain estate. And so, that concludes the events of the Warrens. It was a very easy task with little risk and reward. Next week, week 35, the heroes Scipio, Marin, Line of the Green, and Blythe will venture out in the hopes to destroy a most foul cannibalistic hag. A most daunting task. Now, it is evening already, and I have tasks to take care of. You may leave for today. Good night.